Meet my new gecko. In this video, I'll be making him a bioactive home. In the end, I'll show you the 6-month reveal, so make sure to stick around. The Pasteur's day gecko is a species endemic to the island of Mayotte, just northwest of Madagascar. Mayotte is part of the Comoros, and the island itself is a French overseas department. The geckos are found near freshwater streams where they live an arboreal lifestyle. While I won't have a stream in this terrarium, I'll try to meet all of its tree-dwelling needs. I had a terrarium with a partially finished background lying around, so all I have to do now is complete it. The background was made using expanding polyurethane foam, a common practice in terrarium design. The ventilation was taped off to not get foam stuck in it, blocking the airflow. The first step is to attach coco fiber for a more natural look. To do that, I covered it all in aquarium-safe silicone. It's important to make sure every bit of the foam is covered. Once that is taken care of, I drop the coco fiber onto the silicone. I then press it down so that as much as possible gets stuck onto the background. Next, I put a layer of silicone on the 2 empty glass walls. This helps the foam I'm about to spray onto the wall stick better on the glass. Time to take a look at how the background wall turned out. I remove any excess coco fiber using a brush. I don't throw away the remaining coco fiber. Instead, I keep it for the following parts of the build. The rest gets removed by vacuum. After cleaning the tank, I start playing with the layout for the second side of the background. Once I decided on a Hardscape Design, I anchored it to the wall using more silicone. And now it's time to bring out the foam again. I apply a layer as thin as possible, as I know it will expand a lot. This time, I won't carve the background. Instead, I apply the fiber blend directly onto the freshly sprayed foam. I then press it down instantly to slow the expansion. I repeat this a few times while it cures. Onto the third side we go. It's starting to come along nicely, I think. Doesn't the expanding foam just look so satisfying? Once done, I rip any of the excess silicone off the glass using an X-Acto knife. I wipe it off with some rubbing alcohol to get rid of any residue stuck on the glass. Next, I'm using a screw to make some drainage holes in the pots. This is important because I don't want any standing water to cause root rot in the plants. To cover the visible foam, I'm gonna try to apply some pond lily clay. The clay also has some moss mixed into it, so hopefully that starts growing over time. This method has worked for me previously, so fingers crossed. I then used the same paintbrush as before to apply it on the wall. Comment +1 if you too hate substrate stuck in the sliding glass door tracks. I know I do. To remedy excessive water stuck in the bottom, I will now prepare a pipe to easily be able to remove water if needed. I cut tiny notches in what will be the bottom end of the pipe. This will help water pass through while keeping the drainage layer out. This is what it should look like once the notches are done. I then cut the plastic pipe to size, so it fits the enclosure. Next, it's time to attach it to the bottom of the tank, once again using silicone. The important thing here is to make sure the pipe sticks to the bottom without the glue covering the drainage holes. This gecko is on the smaller side, only reaching a full length of about 4 inches, so I'm doing all I can to escape-proof this enclosure from the get-go. I first clean the glass from debris and fingerprints using rubbing alcohol. I then tape off the panels. I then put them back into the tracks. I ended up adding some more tape off camera. Then I applied a bead of silicone across the edge of the outer panel. I finished the procedure by smoothing it out and removing any messy bits. After placing the enclosure in its final spot, it's now time to remove the tape. I cut a straight cut all the way down to the door tracks. Then I carefully remove the tape. This is where we're at so far. What do you think of the hardscape? I kinda like it. Now it's time to add the drainage layer, and I go for Leca in this build. I went a bit overboard with the thickness of this layer, but that's alright. I then spread the Leca out to get it as even as possible. After adding the Leca layer, I cap it off with some weed barrier mesh. This mesh will ensure water passes through, but the substrate doesn't. My substrate mix will consist of 6 components this time. And that's Arcadia earth mix, coco fiber, orchid bark, live sphagnum moss, activated carbon, and finally some sand. I add it all together and mix it thoroughly. The goal here is a fluffy mix that holds moisture well, but also doesn't get saturated. I apply a thick layer in the enclosure with a slope upwards to the back. This slope helps create a sense of depth in a tiny space like this. Time to start planting. This is where the real fun begins, if you ask me. As you can see, my selection for this build is huge. I want a mix of large leaves, vining and climbing plants, and bromeliads for the lizard to hide in. I first dig a hole in the corner and begin planting the largest plants. And then this beautiful shaggy leaf fig. What an S-tier name, right? I attach them to the background using these U-shaped steel bits of wire that I cut and bent off camera. I really wanted more cryptanthes in this tank, but I only had one of the right size at the time of planting. I'll add more later. I really want lots of climbing plants, and Magravia are absolutely perfect for builds like this one. You also can't go wrong with oak leaf creeping fig either. Another true favorite of mine is this Ficus punctata. Wedging sphagnum moss in crevices is a great way to create good conditions for plants to root into the background. Peperomias are super cool and often tiny epiphyte that look great in terrariums. I try my best to place more than one cutting to make it look like an established plant from the start. I then gently tap it into the moss. Some more Magravia never hurts. For the bromeliads, I poke holes in the background. Then I stick them into the background wrapped in some sphagnum moss. The moss isn't really necessary, but I have found that it adds stability to the plants. Time for the mandatory halftime spray down. How do you like the look of the enclosure so far? I think we're off to a great start. And now it's finally time to add some creatures, starting with the cleanup crew. The Springtails may be tiny, but their work is huge in keeping a clean tank. They feed on mold and other organic materials, and in turn fertilize the plants as they poop in the soil. I'm also adding 3 species of isopods, starting with the dwarf whites. I'm also adding a starter culture of Cubaris marina, which has 2 different colorations. One is orange, the other one is brown. I dumped the entire contents of the containers into the forest floor. The bugs now spread on their own to find their favorite spot in the enclosure. I think they'll thrive in here. You think so as well? Next, I add a layer of leaf litter to function as both hiding places and food for the cleaners. As the cleanup crew breaks it down, it will also actually generate a tiny bit of heat to the bottom of the enclosure. I didn't just add it on the forest floor, but also on the shelves made of spiderwood and cork bark. This makes it look like the leaves have fallen from a tree to land all over the place, just like in nature. Pretty cool, huh? Leaf litter and other botanical elements really have the ability to elevate the scape to new heights. Remember my colony of Armadillidium gestroi? I decided they'll get an upgrade. I also added a bunch of garlic snails, even though they 100% would have turned up on their own anyway. If you want to see how I set up their previous home, I'll leave a link on the screen right now. There's just something super exciting about watching an animal explore a massive new home for the first time. It never gets boring to me. These guys are so active and so much fun to watch. They're also a very beautiful species of isopod, don't you think? Just have a look at this cute little explorer conquering its new lands. It's so epic. Time for the gecko to move in, but first I have some sad news. Originally I made the enclosure for 2 geckos, but sadly the female passed away within 2 weeks in my care. She was a lot slower than the male and seemed stressed out from the journey she'd been on that day. I've been beating myself up over it for a while, to the point of not even wanting to make this video. As sad as it is, nothing in the research and preparations I made leading up to getting them prepared me for this outcome. Keeping animals is rewarding, but sometimes grim. These things happen, but that doesn't mean I take things lightly. The male, on the other hand, jumped straight out onto this philodendron and his curiosity shined through instantly. He started exploring his new home, with great curiosity, but also with caution, of course. He jumped from leaf to leaf, and I was thrilled to see it. Not long after moving in, he molted. When molting, geckos eat their old skin to not waste good nutrients. In nature, everything is a resource, and the old skin might be the only meal for days. Apparently, this little guy didn't get the memo that he lives in a safe, all-inclusive mansion in Sweden though. He needs a name, by the way. Comment your best suggestions and maybe yours will be the one. A long time has passed, and this is what the vivarium looks like today. Some plants have grown larger and larger, and some are gone altogether. Some even had babies. This ficus is a slow grower, but it's starting to take over on the right side. Oh look! Hey buddy! After what happened with the female, I'm so relieved that this guy is doing fantastic. Let's make him some lunch. Today's main course is powdered gecko diet. First I need to add water. I then add the powdered diet. Mix thoroughly until good consistency. And we're ready to serve. This old pot with a dead plant in it has now become the dinner table. First one to show is this tiny garlic snail. I don't know, feels like it doesn't want to eat right now. Time to start wrapping up. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Before I let you go, here are some final clips of the enclosure and its lizard king. Take care and don't miss my next video.